let's talk about one UConn player specifically, because we have talked about the Player of the Year race on this show. We've talked about it here on our YouTube channel, but we have only kind of made general allusions or pushes for individual players for the National Freshman of the Year honor. And it's interesting because it feels like there's less juice than last year when we were talking about Juju Watkins, Hannah Hidalgo, Mylasia Fulwiley. But this year, I would argue, the talent is just as good. It's just dispersed to, UConn and South Carolina are still kind of in the top three.
They've got two of them, but the other two or three ladies who are making it a conversation are at, one is a semi. I would say like Vanderbilt they have an illustrious history as a women's basketball program.
They do. Agree.
Yeah.
But I guess my only pushback, I was going to say, my only pushback for Mikayla Blake there would be like, I don't know if Vanderbilt, and honestly, to that point with Ohio State and Jelani Cambridge, like, they're known within our sport, but I don't know if they're known to like the casual. And I feel like the casual drives a lot of like the awards discourse, which is why last year South Carolina, USC, and Notre Dame are like, they're brands that push the way. But I would say the top 5 right now in our Freshman of the Year race: UConn's Sarah Strong, Vanderbilt's Mikayla Blakes, South Carolina's Joyce Edwards, Ohio State's Jelani Cambridge, and after that, I think you could probably make an argument for Silas Swords at Michigan as a distant 5. For you, I think I might have an idea, just spitballing to see who is your number 1 front runner for Freshman of the Year. And as an add-on to that question, do number 2 and number 3 have a path to overtaking number 1?
For my money right now, it's a 2-person race. And it's between Sarah and Mikayla. This is coming off a week where Mikayla scored 53 points in a win against Florida. Yes. Right? So, but then, did she miss the game against Ole Miss? She missed the game, right?
No, she played. She scored 16 on 5 and 9 shooting.
Okay. Okay, maybe she was injured or something, so there was some speculation that she may not play. Mm-hmm. But they kind of get trounced by Ole Miss, right? It isn't a particularly close game. So, for my money, they are the 2 front runners, absolutely, right now. What Mikayla Blakes is doing in the SEC right now is incredible. Incredible. I think even I'm curious, like share off, like, okay, I remember right when they got her last year, right, when she committed, and it was, the biggest commit that they've had in 20 years or something like that, right? And it's like, she is program, but like, I don't know, I still kind of feel shocked by it a little bit. Just how well she's adjusted to the college game. And this is a player who's 5'8". She's not like huge, but she's balling. And pairing her up with Camille Pierre. So Mikayla has an outstanding case for being National Freshman of the Year. Then you travel up I-95 and you get to Stores, and then there's another young lady whose birthday it is today too, by the way, who is playing with, another All-American candidate, certainly in Paige Becker's first team All-American candidate.
I was just a presumptive All-American, probably, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like she's just barely scratching the surface of what she can do. Barely scratching the surface of what she can do as a player. Yeah. The ease with which that she's playing the college game right now is like mind-blowing to me, for real. I know that she hasn't even shown her full bag yet, you know what I mean? But she's doing a little bit of everything. She's passing it, she's scoring it down low, she's scoring in the mid-range, she's scoring from 3 at the free throw line, she's rebounding. I think last week she had a game where she had like 25 and 12 or something crazy like that. And so both of them are playing so well that they are All-American candidates too, not just national
for sure.
candidates. And obviously, Sarah's going to have the team success, and also have an opportunity against a team like Tennessee later in the month against a team like South Carolina, right? To really like stamp that resume. And so just where we are right now, I think Sarah's going to have more opportunities to take the mantle.
I can see that. So where do you fall on the team result? Because we've had this discussion in the group chat. Like, where do you fall on being a team contributor and success as the top player on a top team, even if the statistics don't back it, versus being a player on a team like a Vanderbilt, for instance, who, or even a Michigan for that matter, who good, not great team, but the value you display at that level is, if you are not on this roster, this team is a lot worse.
It's nowhere, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question. And in that argument, you have to lean toward a Mikayla. You have to, right? Presumably, she's the top of every team scouting report when they play Vanderbilt. And it hasn't really mattered all that much.
Yeah, it's true.
It hasn't really mattered all that much, right? Sarah is a part of a very well-balanced team, but she's still rising to the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, surrounding her with other great players just makes her look phenomenal. And honestly, like, scary about like what the future holds for her in stores. But yeah, if you're just saying like mano a mano, Mikayla versus Sarah, I think you do have to give the nod to Mikayla because, again, Vanderbilt is playing in the tougher conference, and it's not even close. At the top of every opposing team's scouting report, and she's answering the call pretty much every day.
Do you think, and I'll let you kind of stump for Sarah Strong here a little bit. Do you think UConn is at the same level that they are or are playing at now without Sarah Strong? Because I will argue,
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And that's my thing, is like, I feel like on a value end, yes, like Mikayla Blake's Vanderbilt's not even a tournament team, in my opinion, without her there. They're good, but they're a bubble team versus a team that's comfortably in. In the same respect, though, like, there's levels to this. And I feel like UConn without Sarah Strong goes from being a national champion contender down to what? A Final Four team, which on the surface, I know, like, that's funny.
Yeah.
But I've said this with South Carolina, right? Like, it might not appear like it's all that much on the surface from national champion to Final Four. But when you are a national champion contender, those are the margins that you're fighting. Right. Is the difference between winning a national semifinal and a final versus losing in a national semifinal. And I guess my argument for Sarah Strong would be, if she isn't there, that margin becomes wider. And there's enough of I've seen enough of a top end there that I'm comfortable putting her a slight nod above. Well, dude, this is hard because
it's hard. It's really hard.
Because, like, you're talking about a player in Sarah Strong that, in her top games, she's given you plenty of really good lines, right? Like, against Creighton, it's not just against like the bottom of the barrel of the Big East that she's eating. Like, she's eating against a Creighton 26-12, 3 assists, 5 steals, 4 blocks, right? Like Seton Hall, who's the de facto third team in the Big East right now, 23-11. In the loss to USC, 22-13. You really have to go back to that Notre Dame game to find her not having a great matchup. And that was a 14-7. She had 21-8 against Louisville, right? Like, 14, 13, and 6 against North Carolina. The last real unremarkable matchup was November and a 10 and 6 against Ole Miss. Like, against the best teams, she has shown who she is in that respect. But I think guards get a lot, guards get the plug, which in the highlight era, we've talked about this with Lauren Betts in a player of the year discussion. Like that happens, like that's the Asia Wilson shoe discussion. Like there's just the big bias exists. It happens. But you also look at that 53, and I know Elena Deladon has the record for a freshman scoring record, but there's also some weird like redshirt transfer stuff with EDD where I think Blake's, you could argue, is like the true freshman scoring record in that respect. But
I'm giving it to Blake. No shade. Love EDD down. Original UConn Husky on the low. I still low-key claim her sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm giving it to Blake, especially because we were watching Juju last year score 51 against Stanford, right, on playback. And in real time, just nuts, right? Lindsay saying like, yeah, we'll go to her every time if that's what it takes. And that is precisely what happened. And so they will like within a year be like, all right, chill, hold that. You know what I mean? Like,
agreed.
The game is here, but yeah, okay, keep going. Sorry.
So the last question on the freshman stuff before we wrap the show. I think personally, you would need Sarah Strong or Mikayla Blakes to lose ground in the race for Joyce Edwards to advance toward the top. However, if all things are created equal from this point on through the end of the year, I know that's not how National Freshman of the Year is adjudicated, but for the sake of argument, Joyce Edwards to me has a case given her current production with South Carolina and her importance post Ashlyn Watkins. How close do you think she is to those other two? Again, not in like a body of work standpoint, because like the numbers and the minutes just don't match up given what the roster constructions were. But all things equal now, how close do you think those three are?
Incredibly close. Yeah. You have to remember, and not you specifically, but like anybody listening who's unfamiliar, at different points of their high school careers, Sarah, Joyce, and Jelani are all ranked 1, 2, and 3 in the class.
Yeah.
So again, we're heading toward the end of the regular season here. She's right where she should be in the conversation as one of the best freshmen, just like it was last year when she was coming out of high school as one of the best high school players, in the nation. So, like kudos to her. And I think Sila was 4th, by the way, in that class. So that's what's really freaking cool is that 1, 2, 3, 4 are present.
Yep.
Midway through their freshman seasons. And then Mikayla Blakes, I believe, was still top 10.
She was 8th. I'm looking at the Hoop Girls right now. It was Sarah, Jelani, Joyce, Sila, Kate Koval, who has kind of gone back in the lineup at Notre Dame now that some other veterans have become healthy, but was huge for them at the beginning of the year. Kennedy Smith, who I'd argue needs more minutes. Ali Ziebel at UConn, who's understandably buried in the depth chart a little bit. Jordan Lee, Toby Fournier at 9 and 10, Mikayla Blakes at 8. Honestly, as far as freshmen go, that's a 10 that has honestly hit on and like returned on investment almost immediately. It's pretty rare to get 10 players where not one of them in year one, you're like, I don't know if it's going to be. Like all 10 of them, I'm like, long term, that'll work.
They all look like they chose the right programs.
Yes.
Which in this era is saying a whole hell of a lot.
It's hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, we know how quickly things can change, but for the first year, right? Like for my money right now, it looks like they'll all be returning next year to their respective programs, which is really, as a coach and as a program builder, like you got to pat yourselves on the back for making the right choices and the student athletes for also making the right choices. So yeah, Joyce is right where she should be in the conversation. And yeah, just to your point, the Ashton Watkins injury and her taking advantage of the extra minutes and times and reps and stuff like that. She's done exactly what you would expect a player of her caliber to do. And shout out to her for meeting the moment for real.
Yeah, I would agree. A dark horse all freshman player. I just want people to remember the name when it comes around. Delaney Gibb from BYU. 17 points a game, Canadian player who, again, dude, Canada's got some great talent coming up their international pipeline, boy. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be contending with Team USA 4 to 8 years from now, but if these kids all pan out, Gibb, Cassandra Prosper at Notre Dame, Yvonne Ejim at Gonzaga, Silas Swords. I mean, Canada has some real good women's basketball players right now. I will tell you that. But Delaney Gibb, BYU has been average this year, but 17 points per game, 16.9, but we'll round up. 5.1 rebounds, 3.8 assists on 47% shooting. She's a real one. So if there's a dark horse all freshman Zag, I'm putting her in there. And we got a great freshman of the year, player of the year race. We've been putting the watch guides out Mondays and Fridays. And, you know, I hate that the TV schedule has kind of jacked it up where like Wednesday and Thursday and Saturday, Sunday are like crushed. We don't really have like a big Monday anymore, but we have great games all the way through from now to the end of the year. Greer, any final thoughts before we send everybody packing until next week?
Get your home field orders.
No Cap 15 to get your first home field purchase. 15% off. I got the Oregon corduroy hat. It's a banger. I wear it everywhere. No Cap wife has the Tennessee shirt. She wears it to bed, which is the ultimate show of like my wife's comfy t-shirt, you know, feel. Like if your wife is wearing a t-shirt to bed, you know you made the right purchase. And if you want to make the right purchase, go to Home Field as well. This has been another fantastic installment of Ball Up Top, a women's basketball podcast by No Cap Space WBB. You can find all of our work on nocapspacewbb.com. Subscribe to us for free here on YouTube and on Substack to get all of our stories, print, audio, and visual in your inbox. And on top of that, please review us, rate us, give us 5 stars. Tell us we're good, and tell your friends, tell your mom, your aunt, your grandma, your dad, your brother, your cousin, that if they are into women's basketball or even just being a new fan dipping their toe in the water, we take all comers. We'll see y'all very, very soon.